STL Sports Central. It's another thing we got to change here on YouTube, and make sure you hit the bell button so you know every time that STL Sports Central goes live, which is anytime sports news is happening in St. Louis, whether that's a post game, after every major game, or anytime news breaks. We are your place to react at STL Sports Central. Matthew Rocchio, Randy Karraker, how was your weekend?
It was fantastic. It was a busy little weekend here in St. Louis, but it was nice.
It was nice, and it was a rugged Sunday. We don't have many of those. Yikes. Cards lose, BattleHawks lose, St. Louis City SC loses. The Cardinals can't finish the sweep, lose 7-3. But if there is such thing as an okay loss, if you told me, Matthew, that Michael McGreevy or any rookie pitcher was going to give me 6 innings and allow 4 runs against the Doyers, I'm going to take that every single time. I thought his start was representative, had the hiccup in the second inning. That's going to happen now and then. The Dodgers are pretty good. And the Cardinals had chances. Down 4-1, they scored a run in the 5th. Runners at second and third, and Donovan strikes out. Down 4-2 in the 6th, first and third, nobody out. They only score 1. And then down 5-2 in the 7th, first and third, 2 out, and they get a run, and 7-3 was the final. 3 for 9 with runners in scoring position in those 3 innings, 3 for 10 in the game.
Yeah. Again, I'm not freaking out about the McGreevy start. It was solid. I do want to say, though, if you are a Cardinals fan, show yourself in the chat if you were somehow being negative about that start, because I'm not saying it's pervasive or the majority, but I saw just a lot of the same people who were harping on some kind of McGreevy start happening, then somehow not being okay with what he produced yesterday, probably because the Cardinals just lost the game. But it was just in an uneven situation where the actual expectations didn't meet reality in any way, shape, or form. That was a little bit disappointing to see.
Yeah. When a guy is in his situation, and he's been great in the majors so far, and he's been really good in the minors, but when you're taking on the Dodgers and you're taking on 3 MVPs at the top of the lineup, it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're a rookie or not, that's really tough. And I thought with the 3 in the second and 4 in his 6 innings, I think that's an admirable outing, and I don't expect an awful lot more of a rookie than that. That's actually, it was better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. What other aspects of the game?
I wouldn't have expected that many innings, because those guys, they work pitchers.
You know what? To that point, actually, I like that you mentioned that, because 101 pitches, 65 strikes. That does surprise me, because something that Brendan Schaefer pointed out when he co-hosted the show on Wednesday is that when McGreevy started on Wednesday, or was it Tuesday night, I guess it would have been, in Memphis, they took him out at exactly the 75th pitch. Yeah. So I was predicting, I think on Friday, I thought I mentioned this. Oh no, it was on Saturday when I did the post game. My apologies, on Card Central post game. I honestly did not think they'd let him go past 90 pitches. So the fact that they let him go 101 against the Dodgers, that is, I mean, it says a lot about what they think about him. It says a lot about his ability to build things up, because remember, innings pitched are a big thing with the Cardinals, or at least maybe this philosophy's changed, but they used to not like to add more than 30 innings pitched onto a young pitcher's count. So I was a little surprised we saw him go 187 total pitches in a 6-day span, 5-day span.
And they have all that data, because he threw 173 last year, remember?
Oh, yeah, he did. You're right. I remember you.
Yeah.
Pointed out.
So I think they're counting pitches and innings with McGreevy. But let's think about the other 2 starts too, because Sonny Gray was a stopper again. He's been sensational in his last couple of starts, that Saturday against the Rangers, and then Friday night here when the Cardinals needed wins. He stepped up, and it was fantastic. And then Eric Fetty, I think, way beyond expectation on Saturday. And the way the Cardinals won both of those games, you get the home runs from Pages and Wilson Contreras on Friday night, and then on Saturday you get the dramatic finish with the Cardinals scoring a run on the mad dash by Mason Wynn, and then Pages getting a bunt down in the bottom of the 9th, a 2-strike bunt to move the pinch runner over. I thought both of those wins were sensational for the Cardinals.
Yeah, overall, the series win was fantastic. But when everyone loses on Sunday, I'm not going to pass up the headline. It was a great win from the Cardinals, and it had everything we've talked about. A lot of times in our interviews with Bernie, these things we talk about the Cardinals' ability to cover for mistakes, their ability to fight, the fact that they're never out of a game. These are the kind of aspects. And for me, the fact that they keep fighting late without home run power, that was the thing that jumped out that me and Chris Pelican talked about on Card Central postgame on Saturday. The fact that they continue to win games late and come back late without home run power, that's one of those things where it would have been fair if they were a solid team with a good offensive numbers all the way through August and September. But you kept saying, I don't know if this team can win in the playoffs with this offense because can you be clutch without power hitting late in games? The fact that they keep winning games late without big home runs, that's starting to prove to me that this is a sustainable type of offense, despite the fact that it isn't prototypical anymore in baseball. And this, if you can do this in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning with the middle of your order, with the back of your order, top of the order, I mean, that's how you are a dangerous team through a long 7-game series in October.
You just have to be able to pitch. If you're going to score runs, it's kind of got to be like Whitey ball, right? It's got to be you pitch and play defense and suppress opposition runs, and then you manufacture runs. But if your pitching is going to allow home runs in the playoffs, then you have to be able to slug with other teams. But you look at this year now, the Dodgers are going to be there with their top 3, with Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, and clearly the top 2 hitters. I don't know what's going to happen with Philadelphia now with the Bryce Harper injury, inflamed wrist, but they need that left-handed pop if they're going to be in the playoffs. The Braves are pretty much done. They're 14 games behind the Mets now. I guess the Braves could go on a run. I don't know what that's going to look like if the Braves go on a run to be a wild card team, but I think what the Cardinals need to do is worry about themselves first. By the way, another dangerous team in that regard is the Chicago Cubs.
And we have some chats going there. Can I want to pivot to Cubs, but really quickly, because we mentioned the Braves, and you and I were talking to Stephen Carey, who obviously is very steeped in the Braves on Thursday and Friday off the air. And do we need to go back and rehab some conversations we were having in 2022 and 2023 about the Braves plan and how it's all working out so well and all that? Is there some lesson we can learn from all of this is the organization we all have to model ourselves after, and the fact that it unraveled so fast even in a season when there isn't a huge injury concern?
Yeah, the thing is, if you have Max Fried and Charlie Morton, you can't lose them and get no new guys.
Yeah.
You can't lose one a stud, and then the other guy is one of the top postseason pitchers of this brief era. You can't lose 2 guys like that and not replace them. Now, Spencer Schwellenbach is nice, but then you lost Strider last year. He's still not back in stride, as it were. I just think that thank you, appreciate it. I think the big thing with the Braves is their pitching, and they're 27-37 this year. I still, if I were them and had to do it all again, and I was going to sign all those young guys, Albies, Acuna, Riley, Harris, I would the catcher Murphy, I would sign all of those guys, but you just need to be able to pitch. And so far this year, if you look at their starting pitching, they've gotten great work out of Schwellenbach, who has a 3.24, but their other starters this year, Sale, Cy Young Award winner, 2.93. Grant Holmes is there, 3.99. He's 3-4. Bryce Elder, we know what he is, 2-3 with a 4.08. Smith Shawyer down for the season now. They lose him. Strider is 0-5 with a 5.40. He's not back to what he was. Ronaldo Lopez isn't what he was last year. And, oh, by the way, he's only thrown 5 innings this year. So you just have to go out. If you aren't going to keep a starting pitcher, to me, this is my opinion, like Max Fried, and you aren't going to keep a guy around like Morton, you have to replace him. And they didn't.
Also,
so I don't question their moves. I question what they've done this year, but not their big picture moves.
Also, it doesn't help when you're pissing off the fan base by yanking the chain of Craig Kimbrell. It kind of seems like it was the fact that they put him through all the rehab and all the work. He comes up, has one bad outing, one outing, and then they immediately DFA him. That was a weird thing. And I know a lot of Brave fans were ticked off with how that was handled.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't know what they were doing there.
Yeah, I got nothing there.
It'd be different if we knew that, okay, he needs one game to get tenure or something in the union. and that's what was going to happen. But he was way beyond that. Old story that one time the MLBPA guy was talking to the A's about how they reach a certain point in their career and they reach tenure. And from the back of the room, Ricky Henderson waves his hand up and says, 10-year? Hell, Ricky got 15-year.
To your point, the Cubs series is on the horizon. Cole Bassett's left foot. What Mr. Karraker is preparing us for is the upcoming massive Chicago Cubs series, and also pointed out by Cronky Hater, Cubs cupcake schedule ending shortly. In fact, it already ended because they finally had to play a real team in the Detroit Tigers, and they got beat up, losing 2 out of 3, 3-1 to Tariq Skubal, and then Jack Flaherty shut him down in a 4-0 win yesterday.
I think the Cubs are good. I think the Cubs are as good as the Cardinals. Now, they have to deal with injuries too. The Cardinals have been very fortunate with pitching injuries, but it's amazing how they have been affected by the loss of a hot Jordan Walker. They need to have, it's not necessarily Walker, but they just need to have 3 or 4 hot hitters going at a time. You know who looks hot right now is Nolan Gorman. Had that leadoff double in the 9th inning on Saturday. And I wonder if, Jordan Walker is out, and if you didn't see, he had an injection into that wrist, and he's been set back without even doing baseball activities. I'm interested to see what the Cubs look like coming back from all of these injuries.
I am as well, and we talked about it on Friday. On Friday it was a 72-inning streak where their relievers had not been scored on. They took it to 74 on Friday, but then on Saturday it got broken up thanks to our good friend Genesis Cabrera.
Oh, there we go.
was the man who broke the Cubs bullpen's incredible innings scoreless streak, as he was tagged for an earned run in their win. Actually, Saturday. Just the guy to do it right before the Cardinals series. Good old Genesis Cabrera. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, no doubt. We appreciate that. So the Cardinals win 2 or 3. They've got Toronto in town, and Toronto, by the way, is red hot too. I didn't see what they did yesterday. Going into yesterday, they had won 9 and 10.
So, with your thought process on putting the Cards and the Cubs on a similar pedestal, on a similar level, because the Cubs' schedule has been so light, if the Cards were to commandingly win that series, let's say a 3 or 4 run win at 2 out of 3, let's say the same thing with the Dodgers where they give up the third game, would that change your perception of either team?
I don't think so. This is why I wish the schedule was more robust in terms of division play, because I would love to see more of another team. Cubs are 15 games over. They're 40 and 25. If one team, and this isn't going to happen, if one team would trounce the other for the entire series, it might change my opinion. I think the series, I just believe that the series is going to be closer than that.
That makes sense.
Meanwhile, yesterday, interesting comments from Clayton Kershaw after the game, offended by not anything that a Cardinal player or a Cardinal even fan said, but offended by the actions of the Cardinals video crew.
I think it's a little Bush League, but I don't expect.
Oh, there he is.
My bad. I got a little word for you.
Prior to the finale, the Cardinals played a throwback video of Matt Adams' go-ahead 3-run homer in Game 4 of the 2014 NL Division Series, hit off of Kershaw, and it clinched the series for the Cardinals, who beat the Dodgers 3-2 and advanced to the NLCS. After the game, Kershaw was asked about that video.
It's one of the best.
These guys, so it's no worries.
Sorry, it's going to reround. Oh, here we go. Let's do it. Let's do it one more time and get it to.
I think it's a little Bush League, but I don't expect anything less from these guys, so it's no worries.
I mean, Bush League, and then I don't expect anything less from those guys. Two parts of that answer are interesting. He is smiling a little bit, but is it Bush League? That's one of the best. That's one of the best moments of the last 20 years from the Cardinals. After like post 2011 moments, it's one of the best post 2011 moments in the franchise. I don't know. The weird thing that, like you're saying, he's smiling, but he is also kind of implying that there's some organizational lack of class.
Exactly. Now, it was played on a loop, which is different. But you know what? If the Dodgers would show the Chris Taylor home run off of Reyes on a loop, I don't think anybody should have a problem with that. If you don't like it, play better. That's number one, right? And Clayton Kershaw in the postseason, there's a lot of people that can come up with a lot of videos to show of you allowing home runs. Howie Kendrick of the Washington Nationals being one of those. Obviously, the Carpenter double. There's a lot of opportunities to show Clayton Kershaw failures in the postseason. But to your point, this is a nostalgic event for Cardinal fans.
Oh my God.
Right?
I love that moment. It's one of my
it was an
favorites.
awesome moment. And there's no reason for the Cardinals to not
Damn right.
celebrate those moments. And at the end of the day, what's the Cardinal video department's job? It is to entertain their fans because they're in the entertainment business. And showing that was way better than not showing that video.
To that point, if I was the manager of these kind of things for a certain club, let's just pick, I don't know, the San Francisco Giants, and the Cardinals were in my building and the game was close late, I would run Travis Ishikawa on a loop. And I would expect the exact same situations to be done, or if it was a late game and the Royals happen to be there in an interleague game, you're like, hey, Michael Wacha's on the mound. Let's run Travis Ishikawa, taking him to the absolute moon in one of the worst moments of his career. Fine, turnabout's fair play. That's what the money's for. To quote Don Draper, you make $23 million or $29 million, whatever your salary is right now, Clayton Kershaw. Oh, well, that's the other side of making $29 million is you're going to get publicly made fun of by 40,000 people sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's what the money's for.
Lex Luthor. Well, let's start with Ellipsis 150, our buddy. It's Bush League, BUSCH. It is.
You guys are on your game today.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Bubs, fragile ego much? You pitched well yesterday. Wear it with grace, Clayton. He did pitch really well. Maybe he was fired up.
And you know what? He's having some fun too at the same time. I think that might just be the Bush League comment that jumps out to some people because
but here's another thing, Matthew. I never heard him complaining about Yasiel Puig being Bush League.
It's a very good point
against the Cardinals during those very playoffs.
It's a very good point.
Right.
Yeah. You guys got to be aware about your perception. It's like the fact of the matter, Clayton, is that when you are in Cooperstown, you are going to have the starkest regular season, postseason splits of any other pitcher in the hall. Mm-hmm. It's just, that's the fact of the matter, man. You couldn't lock it down in October consistently. You still got a ring, but you have more money than you'll ever need. Life's not perfect. Oh, well.
No. And, by the way, he's 0-4 against the Cardinals with an earned run average over 6, right?
That's insane.
In the postseason.
That's insane.
He's unbelievable. Yeah.
That's nuts.
And you could make an argument, and let me just get to this statistic here. You could make an argument in this day and age with the performance of Clayton Kershaw in his career. You could say that and you can make a strong argument that he's the best starting pitcher in the history of the game.
Yeah.
He's been that good. And I don't think that he does get enough credit, especially because of the last few years and the injuries. I don't think he gets enough credit for how good he's been over the years.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And the
postseason has a lot to do with that.
Exactly, 100%, because every time I watch him mow the Cardinals down for 8 innings or 9 innings, like complete game shutout, it's okay because I can go to Twitter and somebody somewhere has retweeted Matt Adams taking him with an absolute just raked moonshot. So yeah, that's why it's fantastic. Yeah, he's so bad in October in the postseason, so good in the regular season. And that's going to be your legacy. I know it's not fair, but again, neither is you getting paid $30 million.
No.
So, again, this is two sides of the same coin, my guy. Get over it. Have some fun. Apparently, he is this is not the first time he's come off a little grating. Let's put it that way. Apparently, there's some stories around the game from him.
Out of all the pitchers in the history of baseball that have pitched, he has the number 46 earned run average. His career ERA is 2.51. He's
insane.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
2.51 is his career ERA.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah. So if we look beyond 1900 in the
Bob
in the
Gibson's is
era,
2.91.
Yeah. Isn't that incredible?
Bob Gibson's is 2.91. And this is what again?
2.51.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
So you can make a great argument for him. So he's great. So to your point, he doesn't need to be spouting off about, here's the thing, it's somebody's video department. And I love the Cardinal video department. All the people in there are great. I think players have better things to worry about than that.
I really like to think, and I'm wrong, but I really like to think this, that if I was making that much money, that a group of 4 people all making like 60 grand, I don't think I'd be able to, I'd let them phase me.
No, you wouldn't think
I think I'd be like, no, you know what?
No.
Touche. I'm going to go golf at the nicest course on the planet.
Here's one thing that I wondered when I saw this clip. And by the way, I was at the game and I wasn't even paying attention to the big board. I didn't see this happen. But I was also there on Friday, and there's Kershaw playing catch with his son before the game out on the field, okay? I wonder if that disdain for the video was more geared towards his son seeing it than him. Because his son, I think he's like 14 or 13, has no idea what happened. And there's his son having to watch that on a loop.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's fair. But again, isn't that also just it's all part of the it's all part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, come on. It's if that's Busch League,
by the way,
then we've got some work to do with Major League Baseball.
I'm sorry, but like if you are a close personal friend of Clayton Kershaw's son, and you haven't used the Matt Adams video as a way to clown on your friend, these kids they don't have the friendships me and my friends had. If my dad had gotten taken yard by Matt Adams and he was a pitcher, my friends would have been texting me that on like Nokia phones in 2004 on a daily basis. My friends would have been merciless. I would have seen that clip every day.
Is there anything better than the Kershaw figurine of and on the lower right it says choking hazard?
Now see, okay, maybe we found a line. maybe that's the line. Maybe calling him a choke artist is different than just showing a highlight where he does choke.
But it's what's the name of I forgot the name of the toys, but it's pretty fun. I'm looking at it right now. If you just Google Kershaw choking hazard,
that's really good. I
forget what the figurines are, but man, they're it's got a photo of him on it. A photo of the toy, and then it's circled where it says warning choking hazard.
Horrible,
kind of funny,
terrible.
And you know what, he's poor guy, because he did get victimized by Houston, the 2017 Astros.
It's true.
And our buddy Ned Colletti made that point, right? He said, how different would his career look if the Astros hadn't cheated at the Astrodome with their sign stealing and
it's a great point.
Yeah, pounding on the trash cans. So, but kind of fun. It gives us something to talk about, and hopefully the Cardinals will see the Doyers in the playoffs, and hopefully he'll have to pitch here. Hopefully he'll be healthy enough to pitch in the playoffs.
I hope the Cardinals don't have to play the Dodgers in the playoffs. I would not enjoy that.
You think everybody's magically going to get healthy?
I do. I feel like when you have that many injuries, just even if not everyone gets magically healthy, 30% of that list gets magically healthy, and they're the deepest team in baseball. Like, what the hell?
Oh yeah, it's unbelievable. They'll all come off the 60-day and they'll DFA a bunch of guys. Like last year when they DFA'd James Paxton, he was having a good year for him, and one of their good guys, not good, but one of their expensive guys came off the IL, and they are DFAing pretty good players. Okay, Ellipsis 150 discussion question: who are the best pitchers to never win a Cy Young? Can't say Nolan Ryan because obviously he will be number one on that list. Best pitcher to ever pitch in Major League Baseball to not win a Cy Young.
So after, oh my gosh,
I like this. I like this question a lot.
So Phil Negro won 318 games.
Did he not win a Cy Young?
I gotta double check this because I
don't recall him, but he pitched in the 60s too. So
Phil Negro never won a Cy Young.
So
he, by my count, he has the highest of like modern day baseball. I think he has the highest win count other than Nolan Ryan to not have a Cy Young with 318. Don Sutton, right?
Oh, Don
Sutton. Sutton, right?
He was just kind of a survivor. I liked Don Sutton because of his numbing consistency.
22-year career, though, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's a great question.
That was just one thing I wanted to Google real quick. Is like, who has the most wins? Jim Cott, but again, that's a guy who had like a 20-year. Oh, he's in now.
He's in the Hall of Fame, but never won a Cy Young.
Bert Blyleven.
Burt be home by 11. Yeah, he had like a 22-23 win season, right?
Mike Mussina.
Oh, Mussina might be.
Mussina had some huge seasons, didn't he? I mean,
Yeah.
he had some, like, the strikeout numbers
Yeah.
were massive
He
with
was
him.
really good. So that's a good question.
5-time All-Star and a Hall of Famer for Mike Mussina. Let me see here. Cy Young, the highest Mike Mussina ever finished was 1999. He finished second in the Cy Young. He went 18-7 with a 3.5 ERA, and he lost the Cy Young to, yeah, that'll happen, Pedro Martinez.
Let's see.
That'll happen.
This is the number of wins of 8 or years of 18 or more wins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. His last season, he won 20 games.
Waino is what obviously people are going to throw out Adam Wainwright into that one.
Yeah, 200 winner.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one too.
Yeah, we appreciate that chat.
I like that one. Good job, Ellipsis.
From the chat box.
A lot of chats coming in on the BattleHawks, Randy.
We're going to get to the BattleHawks coming up. By the way, Burt be home by 11, according to Let's Turn 2, the highest career WAR for a pitcher to not win a Cy Young.
Okay, that's a good call.
So, there you go. Yeah, we do need to talk about the BattleHawks. But before we get to the BattleHawks, I want you to know about our friends at the Fenton Bar and Grill.
It's a Monday.
It's
a Monday. I think I'm going.
Baby.
I know what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
I want to get some trashed wings.
Ooh, yeah. 10 for $10.
Yes.
You can do that over at the Fenton Bar and Grill on Rudder Road in Fenton. It's just 2 minutes away from the soccer park, and you can have the greatest trash wings that you'll ever have. And Monday is a great day because you can get 10 for $10 and try them out, sample them, either with that signature golden sauce that's being deliciously poured on the trash wings in the center of your screen, or you can get some ranch. I'm a ranch guy, so I go with that. And you can stop by and say hi to Megan and Jamie and the crew over at the Fenton Bar and Grill. They'll treat you really well. We've got a day game later in the week. Great place to watch a Redbird day game. And you can enjoy some of their great appetizers as well. The spicy cheese curds are great. They have some great deals on domestic beers for $2. Their toasted Rav is right there with the best in the area. Great salads and burgers and wraps. They're absolutely delicious. They're tantalizing at the Fenton Bar and Grill. You can learn more by going to FentonBarandGrill.com. They're all over social media. Check out Fenton Bar and Grill on your social media. And by all means, try the trash swings. Big days on Mondays. You get 10 for $10 in the afternoon and the evening between 5 and 9 p.m. Stop by the Fenton Bar and Grill and tell them that Randy sent you.
Randy, I'm doing a little math. Does that mean that I can get 20 for $20?
I believe it does.
Oh,
yeah. How about that?
I'm gonna go pig out on some wings.
Not a great day for the BattleHawks. And Matthew, I appreciate the word usage here. The BattleHawks capitulated in the XFL Championship game, 36-18.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah,
that's a team that I hate the idea. I've hated this ever since my coaches used to yell at me in Little League that the other team wanted it more is why you lost the game. Well, I hate that rationale, but sometimes there does feel like a game where I do have to kind of I have to capitulate and give up to that mode of thinking, because it did feel like a team that two teams where one simply wanted a result and another one was kind of passive about that.
Well, the BattleHawks came into the game as the number one defense in the league, the number one rushing offense in the league, and they were dominated on both sides of the line of scrimmage. And I don't know why it happened. Now, Duggan was awful. He got pulled for Brandon Silvers. He gets hurt after leading the BattleHawks to a touchdown. And it was just an awful playoff appearance for your St. Louis BattleHawks. Not a great crowd, not what they expected. They were thinking 40,000 last week at this time.
And you know what? Kudos to them trying it. I saw that they put out some promos with some reduced prices on the tickets. Mm-hmm. And I thought, you know what? I like that they're at least trying, because my biggest thing, and we talked about this earlier today on the Lou Information Station, was that like with Birmingham being a great example of I think a big part of it is just the marketing has not been up to snuff in certain markets. This market not being one of them. They've killed it here in St. Louis, obviously. But the overall, and so I want to give them a lot of credit for saying, listen, we want to get more tickets sold. Mm-hmm. Let's make this what minor league or spring football should be, which is a way for people to watch the games in a more affordable family environment. That's exactly what it needs to be. Pricing it that way helped be that. And yet then to still get one of the smaller crowds of the season, it's very disappointing.
And the fans who were there were exceptionally loud. They were into it early on, and the defenders just took the crowd out of it and took the BattleHawks out of it. the chat box is rolling from Larry Lovelace. The DC Defenders also dominated the St. Louis offensive line in the first meeting in St. Louis this year. That is correct, and that was the only loss at home before yesterday for the BattleHawks this year.
But see, my issue wasn't necessarily like the offensive line didn't have a dominant game, but even when they did give him time, Matt Duggan, I always forget how to say his name. Matt Duggan just he wasn't locked in any way, shape, or form. He was inaccurate. He didn't even, when he did have a pocket, he wasn't stepping up and delivering the football in a consistent manner. It was, to make this is not the best comparison, but it's a very recent comparison. He kind of looked like a lot of the tape we saw from Shedeur Sanders. The difference there is that Shedeur Sanders was doing that while not having any help from his offensive line. And it wasn't the best game from the offensive line. There's no doubt there. But they were giving him time. And even in the plays when they were, he wasn't executing.
He had a lot of happy feet going too.
A lot of happy feet. Blaine Gabbert out there. Yeah. Oh, man, it doesn't, bothers me is the right word. It makes me nervous when I watch a quarterback in that situation.
Yeah. This could be Ben has a couple. Number one, he took blame for the loss, which we appreciate. He said, when I watch the BattleHawks, they suck. When I don't watch them, they win. I'm sorry. The loss is my fault. It's okay. It's okay. This could be Ben. Also, he writes, Duggan looks too small to be a quarterback. This is here. We should be exceptionally proud here in St. Louis. Okay. Duggan is too small to be an NFL quarterback. He's not too small to be a minor league quarterback. We are supporting and have been supporting, there's no other way to put this, minor league football, right? These guys aren't good enough to play in the majors. That's why they're playing in the minors. There is not a minor league franchise in America, hockey, basketball, baseball, football, whatever else, that would not be absolutely thrilled with yesterday's crowd. Listed at 27. That's what they announced it as, is 27. But even if there were 20 in the house, every single other minor league team would be happy if their city supported them that way. And the BattleHawks, by the way, I'm sure are thrilled with the support that they got yesterday. But there's only so far down the line, Matthew, that I think you can go with being a minor league sport and getting the support that the BattleHawks have gotten. The schedule moved this year. I was talking to an executive yesterday who said, half the people that would normally be at this game, they're out of town. They're going to the lake. The school just ended. They're out of town. They're going on vacations. The schedule didn't benefit the BattleHawks.
Does this executive want the league to wrap up before Memorial Day?
Didn't say, but it makes sense to me to start the week after the Super Bowl.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Yeah.
But do you want to play? That's one of the problems they have is, do you want to play games in DC, home games in an outdoor stadium in February and March?
Why not?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Snow football's fantastic.
Yeah. I fear that yesterday was the last BattleHawks game that we'll ever see. And I know all of us are worried about the future of the league because of what everybody else is doing, not because of St. Louis is doing. But I wonder how far down the line the ownership, the Redbird Capital people and Danny Garcia, I really don't think The Rock is involved. I think he was the face of the franchise.
That's my biggest issue when we were talking about this. It's just the fact that he never threw his weight behind it. It was always going to be a problem because you can, with The Rock and just the way he can market himself, the way he knows how to market everything else, the way the people around The Rock. Because the thing I want to push again is that if The Rock could have turned to somebody and said, all right, go down to Birmingham. There are football fans there. Find out why they're not coming to our games, and let's get this figured out.
Yeah.
And The Rock's people are smart. They're creative, and they've been around Hollywood and production levels of WWE for so long that they probably could have gotten something figured out. I firmly believe that. And the fact that never happened, or at least didn't happen to a point where it actually had an effect, that's problematic. You were going to need some kind of huge, crane to kind of move everything, to transport everything as a league. And it looked like it was going to be The Rock. And if it's not The Rock, then you have to connect yourself to the NFL.
Where did he come from again, The Rock?
WWE.
There's the issue right there. The WWE would never schedule home playoff games for the franchise that draws the most or the wrestler that draws the most and then have that wrestler lose. That would not happen in WWE. That's a big issue, right?
Maybe
That's 2 years in a row.
Maybe it helps. Maybe it helps. They're doing it for like a legitimacy kick. It's like, guys, we can't be rigging the league. This league is totally legitimate because else, obviously, St. Louis would have won, and then next year when St. Louis does win, no one's going to question it.
But I kind of think that when you put those games here, you're kind of taking the St. Louis fan base for granted because you say, well, yeah, nobody else is going to show up. St. Louis will show up. Clearly, we aren't going to show up forever. And not saying that yesterday was a bad crowd relative to the rest of the league. It was an awesome crowd. But I believe that the league expected, I know the BattleHawks were thinking 40. I believe the league was expecting at least 30.
The bottom line is there were multiple games in the low to mid 30,000s this season for the BattleHawks games. To have those regular season games and then to have the BattleHawks playing in a conference championship game and to have less than regular season games show up, any way you cut it is bad.
It is. But I just I don't want to make that the story. The story, though, is that they got drilled.
Yes.
Oh my God. They didn't have a quarterback to go yesterday. They ran for 83 yards.
That's worrisome, by the way. They were one of the best running teams in the league this year. And one thing I want to point out, when I said that they looked flat, or if people comment they look flat, you can't even say that that's just like Monday morning quarterbacking. Injured players who were not active for the game were tweeting out that the team looked flat.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
When the teammates are saying it, that's all I need to know, that it's that my eyes are telling me the true story.
Brian Ellison asks, did the Cardinals game hurt the attendance? I think there's two things at play here. Number one, I walked around the ballpark before yesterday's game. There were so many out-of-town plates that I don't think were necessarily BattleHawks fans. Iowa, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Illinois, obviously, from 8-9 other states, Texas, Kansas. So I think there were a lot of people that after yesterday's game were driving home, but there were also a lot of people that I saw coming out of Busch-stadium that were wearing their BattleHawks gear. I went to the doubleheader. I went to both games, and there was plenty of time in between games to go to both. So I don't think that should have been a factor. I remember, and obviously we're talking different things altogether, but in 2006 when the Cardinals were playing the Mets, I think it was game 3 of the NLCS, we had a Rams game against Seattle at noon, and then the Cardinals playing at 7, and both games were completely packed. So obviously different sports. It's the NFL. But I don't think that the Cardinals game being played on the same date had an awful lot to do with the BattleHawks attendance.
And there was somebody in the chat pointing out that there were a lot of people going to live events, and there's only so much money. My thing is that there was literally a Saturday earlier this year, and mind you, City did not play at home. City was away in Portland. There was a Saturday earlier this year where the Cardinals, BattleHawks, and City all played at home. I think the Blues might have also played that day. And the BattleHawks had over 30 in the stadium that day. And now the Cardinals attendance that game was worse than it was this weekend. By the way, did they top 40 all 3 games?
They did.
Okay. So the Cardinals was around 30. So maybe that's where 12,000 people weren't in the BattleHawks stadium, and that would take them over 30. So maybe that's your argument, is that there still is only 80,000 to go around. But to my point there was no City game and there was no Blues game. So you're 100% correct. Relative to the rest of the league, good job. 27 still damn impressive. But there is other data points to point at where you can criticize things, I think. And it's fair.
Yeah.
Because again, I understand the entertainment dollars factor as well, but we literally have a piece of proof from just a couple months ago that tells you the entertainment dollars are there and people are willing to spend them at 4 different events.
And I don't know if this is the case, but my perception would be that in general, the typical Cardinal fan demographic is different than the typical BattleHawk fan demographic. I would just think that the BattleHawks fan is younger, super hardcore football fan, and the Cardinal fan is a little bit older and a super hardcore baseball fan. Just the typical. I don't know. I would guess there's a lot of crossover, but not enough to make an appreciable difference of like adding 2,000 or 3,000 people to your attendance figure.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think there's a lot of hardcore BattleHawk fans who aren't Cardinals fans?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people
Okay.
that are just they're football. They're
That's
football
fair.
people, and just seeing the tailgating out there during the regular
That's
season,
good.
I think it gives you an idea. So it was a shame, and they lose 36-18. Just no fun at all for the fans. It kind of was sucky.
Larry Lovelace says, I wonder if some drop-off comes from so many at first attending out of hate towards Kroenke in the NFL. Maybe if they handed out ridiculing Kroenke signs, it would have improved attendance. That's a fair point, but we're not talking about attendance from 2020 to 22, 23 to 24 to 25. We're just talking about February or March of 2025 and June of 2025. And so I don't think you can factor in the drop off of the Kroenke hate within this season. Yes, it's 100% the difference between the reaction pre-COVID to the first BattleHawks iteration and now. There's 100% some drop off of the Kroenke hatred factoring in, but you can't chalk that up to a difference between the attendance in March and June.
No. And what we said earlier, though, I think the school being over, I think that just having
that's a really good point.
Not as many people because people go to the lake on weekends and do different things. I just think that there's a lot out there for people to do. Obviously, there was because they were doing it, and so the BattleHawks, the fan base wasn't what it had been in the past. I can't imagine that they'll have many people in the building next weekend. Or Michigan against.
Oh, that's going to be rough.
Yeah, Michigan against the DC Defenders. Jordan Teamo did say Kaka back one time, but I think that's all we got going for us.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I will not be watching that game, Randy. Sorry. Certainly not in person.
I agree. I'm not going to be watching in person or on TV. I'm just not.
Sorry. It is what it is. Cole Bassett's left foot.
Go ahead.
In the end, how did the UFL make itself distinct and a better product for a fan to attend in person? I think it's a very fair question.
Yeah, it is. And that's what you need to do. And again, what you have to do is Kurt Hunziker was the first president of the BattleHawks in the XFL days, former minor league guy, former minor league baseball guy. And what you have to do is steal from other minor league ideas and get those people's ideas into practice. And the other thing that they did, it's you got to have your team around, and the fact that the team practices in Texas, and I know that they need to save that money, but all 8 teams practice in Texas. As a matter of fact, like the DC Defenders and the St. Louis BattleHawks, they flew here together on the same plane, flew back together on the same plane. I think you have to be able to get your players out into the community during the season more than they do. You have to have those players be accessible so young people can touch them, and especially with the BattleHawks, because they're a new franchise, have kids say, hey, mom and dad, I would love to go to the BattleHawks games. And that doesn't happen because those players aren't accessible to the kids on a regular basis.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And these are the things you have to differentiate yourself. One part, they did it right out of the gate. They had some rule changes that the NFL immediately went, okay, I'm after taking a look in the logic there. And that's what you got to do. You just have to keep innovating or else you die. That's the name of the game.
All right. We've got DraftKings as a huge sponsor here of
STL Sports Central.
STL Sports Central. I'm showing the sign here. We've got a new name. If you hadn't noticed, we've got a new name. It's STL Sports Central. Find us at stlsportscentral.com, and of course you can find us on our socials. But since we're so deep into the baseball season now, more than a third of the way in, and you're locked into every pitch now, right? With the Cardinals being good, that's why I've teamed up with DraftKings to bring you Pick 6. It's an all-new way to play daily fantasy sports. And tonight you've got Andre Palante going for the Cardinals. The over for him is 3.5 strikeouts. And I'm going to go with Andre Palante to strike out more than 3.5 Toronto Blue Jays. 4 or more Toronto Blue Jays. You like that?
I like that. What are we going to do? So are we going to take like Vlad Guerrero for less on one of his props to fill this out?
We could do that. Okay, we could go with. I was kind of looking at the. Should we call the Arizona Diamondbacks hapless at this point? Are they?
I don't think they've reached that point. I don't think they've completely. I mean, they're in the same division as the Rockies. I think it's like relative.
Okay.
I don't think we can call them completely hapless yet.
Seattle is at Arizona. Corbin Carroll is at 2.5 for hits plus runs plus RBIs. And I'm going to go over on that.
That's fair. I like that one.
Okay, against Hancock. So Carroll over 2.5, so 3 hits plus runs plus RBIs, and I'm going to go with Palante to get 4 strikeouts.
I like that one right there.
Okay, there we go. That's how easy it is to play DraftKings Pick 6. All you need to do is download the app, use the promo code STL Sports, and it's easy to start and fun to follow and gives you a whole new way to stay connected to the game. And if you play tonight for the first time, you'll get $50 in bonus picks when you play just $5. That's 10 extra picks to keep the action going all week long. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app today and use that code again, STL Sports, when you sign up only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, Matthew, St. Louis City SC made it a hat trick, as it were, for St. Louis sports fans last night. The Cardinals lose, the BattleHawks lose, and then St. Louis City SC looked for all the world like they were going to win when they scored in the 50th minute. No such luck. They didn't hang on, and they lose by a score of 2-1 on the pitch in Portland.
Yeah, another one where they take an early 1-0 lead, not necessarily early, it was early in the second half, and then 2 unanswered goals by the Timbers. The first one was you got to tip your cap. Anthony with a incredible one-on-one move to open himself up, and then he had all the space in the world, and then it was a perfect shot from outside the box, curling into the top arc. Just the most beautiful, picturesque goal you'll ever see in the game of soccer. Second goal was a complete just abomination of defending by St. Louis City SC on the set piece. Just they swing it in there, and Ashala just is able to walk in to a completely open spot right on the dot and put it past Berkey for the game winner. Just you cannot defend a set piece that poorly against a good team. They'll score every time. It was pathetic, that defending. It did happen. It also did happen under Mellberg. The difference is that they didn't have any offense under Mellberg, but they did put up 2.41 XG in the game, which is the best XG number of the season so far. The problem is their finishing continues to just be extremely poor. Early in the first half, Marcel Harder has a shot that by the numbers is a 50% shot to be a goal, and he didn't even put it on net. And there were a couple other bad misses, including Klaus missed late that people are going to harp on a lot. Simon Bescher, who has been the former SLU product, statistically is one of the worst finishers in MLS right now based on the expected goals from the shots he's taken and how often he's converted. So yeah, it's getting rough. But the bad things, the worst parts about St. Louis City was that they weren't even creating these chances under Olaf Mellberg. Mm-hmm. They're at least creating the chances now. So there's something to actually work for. 4 big chances created. Previously, they were averaging about 1.5 big chances created. They created 4 or 5 this game. They just happened to miss 4 of them. Mm-hmm. But again, the difference is that for the first 14 games of the season, they didn't even have 4 of them to miss. So the fact that you can create this means there's at least now a base to work off of.
Do you see, it sounds like you do, that you see light at the end of the tunnel that isn't a train coming at you?
Yes. There is some light at the end of the tunnel. There's still some things to get worked out. One of the best players on City, Marcel Hartl, has had 2 very underwhelming games under David Critchley. But the fact that they're able to have the offensive output they've had while one of their best players is struggling in both games, and without their best player in Edward Leuven they didn't have Edward Leuven this past week.
Right.
The fact that they're able to still have a game with so much production from the distribution and build-up side, there is a lot of positivity to be had there, because previously, if Marcel Hartl had a bad game and Edward Leuven wasn't out, it was like a 0.5 XG performance.
Ouch.
And so the fact that Marcel Hartl can have a bad game, Leuven can be out, you can be on the road against a top 4 team in the West and put up those kind of attempts, that means there's something there to build on, and that's impressive.
That is good to hear. I'm
very good to hear. Yes.
I was thinking about this last week. as we were putting together the show late last week. There's still 4 months left in this season.
Yeah, now that this Sunday was the halfway mark. So you got a lot of games to build. 1 point wouldn't have been that big of a difference. You got to start stacking 3, and you get the worst team in the league coming home this next weekend. So stack 3 points and put Portland Timbers in your rearview mirror.
Those Portland Timbers they're pesky, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yes, they unfortunately are very good. A solid team, and they were just able to bring more talent off the bench. And unfortunately, St. Louis City seems to lose a little quality when they have to go to their bench. And specifically, Thomas Ostrak and Zonda Silva, who were subbed in, looked like they might have been the players who didn't mark their man on the set piece and allowed him to just walk into that spot. And so there are still some things to work out. There's no doubt about that.
That gives Coach Critchley something to work on.
Critch has got a lot still to work on if he wants to put this team in a playoff position.
Hey, did you guys know that Hot Shots is celebrating their 35th anniversary? Pretty cool. And Sports Hub STL postgame shows are brought to you in part by Hot Shots. And they want you to know that they're celebrating their 35th anniversary with great specials all during the course of the summer. All kinds of fun all the time at Hot Shots. If you're looking for a game to watch, that's the place to go. They have great pizza, great food and drink. And if you're looking for a dart game, if you're looking for just a way to compete, you want to play some pool, the Hot Shots locations in town are sensational. There are 13 of them. So just get out to Hot Shots, St. Louis home for all the games, all the time since 1990, and a great supporter of STL Sports Central. Find yours at hotshotsnet.com.
Love them. New menu out right now. Again, it's perfect place to go for lunch. If you're in St. Louis, you're close to the location. Check out the closest location right now at hotshotsnet.com.
All right. We finally got a ruling on the House settlement on
let's
thank
go.
Goodness.
Let's go. We're paying kids.
So starting July 1st, just a couple of weeks from now, schools are going to start paying their athletes. And there is a salary cap of $20.5 million for every school. Now, and we're going to talk to our buddy Ken Dubinsky about this in a couple of days. It's not like NIL goes by the board. So, for example, let's just put a name out there. Kevin Coleman, St. Louis, that's going to Mizzou. If they wanted to give him $500,000, they could. That would come from their kitty, their $20.5 million salary cap. So that would leave $20 million for the rest of the athletes in the Mizzou athletic program. However, if Kevin Coleman wants to do a deal with Hot Shots for another $500,000, just throwing out arbitrary numbers, it's not going to happen, I don't think. But if he wanted to do an NIL deal with somebody for another $500,000, he can do that. So players can earn beyond the school imposed and House settlement imposed salary cap. What I found interesting about this, Matthew, is that according to reports, most schools that are in the Power Four are going to spend at least 90% of their salary cap on football and men's basketball players.
Wow.
90%.
Makes sense, though.
And I would guess that a huge percentage of that will go to your football program.
Yes.
Which to me provides a distinct advantage for schools that can generate the income to have that salary cap. The SLUs of the world, the Xaviers of the world, the Gonzagas of the world, the Georgetowns of the world, those schools, in my opinion, are going to have a pretty distinct advantage in terms of procuring talent through finances for with the salary cap. I just wonder if the salary cap is going to work in the favor for basketball schools because they don't even worry about football.
I think they're for some schools it might break that way, but the it's a simple equation. Let's just compare, let's say, Mizzou basketball to SLU basketball, even though they one is a power program, one is a mid-major, so they aren't going to be compared. But even so, with that in mind, let's compare and let's just go off some made-up numbers because I don't have the numbers in front of me. Let's say Mizzou's working with, what do you want to say, 50 million as a total budget?
Yes,
is that too much? Is that too much?
Yeah.
Mizzou's working with 50 million as a
They
total
lost
budget.
15 million last year.
So they're working with 50 million as their total budget, which means if it is in fact 20% goes to basketball, 20% of 50 million is still going to be however many, 10 million, right? 10 million. So we're talking about 10 million that Mizzou still has to play with.
Mizzou, by the way, revenues last year, 168 million.
Okay. I'm just gonna keep it to 50.
Yeah, that's
I want to
easier math.
So they have 50 million. Let's say, and so that means that the basketball team gets 10 million to work with, 20%. Is SLU basketball also going to bring 10 million to the discussion, to the table?
That's the key. Are these schools, now you get the money because of the money that's generated by the NCAA, right?
Yes.
So the salary cap money is different than your overall athletic budget.
Yes.
So the key is going to be, number one, development of players, building a coaching staff, having great facilities to recruit better players. But then the other thing that bigger budget, big time program is going to get you without a regular basis.
Sorry about that, Randy. We had a little internet issue here. We had a little internet glitch here in the studio. Our Wi-Fi went a little bit wonky, but that's why you always hard line in, ladies and gentlemen.
I just gave you the best part of the show.
That's why you always hard line in, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. Because
the internet, sometimes the Wi-Fi likes to get a little wonky, but when you got that Ethernet connection, it stays stable. And so, sorry, somebody tripped over the cord. YouTube decided to get a little wonky with us here. So re-hit some of the big points there.
Chat us, by the way, just to make sure that you're still seeing us. Matthew had to unplug and replug. There you go. That's totally it. So just give us a chat and say, yeah, I can see you guys now. I can hear you guys now. We want to have that before I give you my outstanding soliloquy about college football.
It was fantastic. I can attest
fixed
to
it. Rocco fixed it.
It was great. I fixed it.
Thank
okay, good.
Definition.
Thank you, high definition. Yeah, take a little reset.
Yeah. So here's my question.
3, 2, 1.
So Mississippi, I think the state of Mississippi has 0 Fortune 500 companies.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that Louisiana is like that too. They have the oil companies in New Orleans, but I think they're based in Houston. So my question is, with the Fortune 500 companies in St. Louis and Kansas City, I think there's a total of 14 between St. Louis and Kansas City. Are the donors of the University of Missouri going to be more effective than the Mississippis? Or are there a select few big money donors that donate to Alabama, that donate to an LSU, that donate to Mississippi State? I'm intrigued to see 3 years down the road, how these 4 or 5 years down the road, how these schools do with continuing to generate NIL money, because that's where you're going to have to get it. You're going to have to get it like Georgia's. They're taken care of by Morgan & Morgan, right? The huge law firm in Atlanta. Obviously, when you think about a guy like Bob Blitz contributing to the Mizzou program, doing great work there. But there's got to be a point, I would think, of diminishing returns for those people that are giving all that money to those programs. So if you have more money to give, if you have Texas, you're the University of Texas, you've got Dallas and Houston, you've got all of that huge money, I would think that they will be able to go further down the road with people willing to donate to NIL than pretty much any other school in the SEC.
Yes, I think you're absolutely correct there. And so to your point, you think that 10 years down the road, if this doesn't change, we will see a starker separation from the big and the little. You think that this just naturally is going to lengthen the chasm. I think just naturally, any way you go, that's going to be how it is. Because to your point, even if you put a cap on it, you can always just have the boosters, if they want to, making the deals on the side and getting things done. Power conferences are always going to win out in the end. And I think it's unfortunate because I'm not sure what that future looks like for teams like the Billikens, because I think there is a lane where you can, it's interesting because they actually just added the last guy they added onto this roster was at Iowa. And then he was a freshman at Iowa, and he transferred when they fired their coach. And apparently there were other schools that he was locked into because they could give him money. But his camp said, we want his development to be the right way. And so they contacted SLU, and SLU pretty much, SLU told him straight up, we do not have any cash left. We used it all on our plan. We did what we wanted to. We were successful. And they said, we don't worry about that. Wow. We care about the development long term. We want him to be a big man who learns the game the right way. So there is going to be a lane for mid-majors for situations like that. But those are always going to be, now with the way this is, those are always going to be more few and far between. Yeah. And so there is going to be a lane, to your point. Development is going to be the big thing. And the crappiest part about this is that this just gives fans of college programs another thing to complain about without ever having anything actually public. Because now it's going to be, well, are we spending enough money? Are we working hard enough for our boosters to get them involved in the marketing side of things? We'll never know.
But you used the operative word there. It's development. I was talking to somebody close to the Valley, and their philosophy now is kind of, and it's sad, what's the point? Because we're going to get these guys. We're going to develop these guys. Who are we developing them for? We're developing them for the Power Four. Well, every good player that we have or we make is going to wind up not playing for us. There's no way that we'll be able to do what Rick Majerus wanted to do. Not that he does it in a non-Power Four, but the best way to build a mid-major has been over the years to stagger, have a couple of sophomores, a couple of juniors, a couple of freshmen, a couple of seniors. You aren't going to be able to do that anymore. If you are a mid-major, there are two things that you can do. You can hope that you get a guy that turns into a big-time player that gets you to the NCAA tournament as a freshman, because he'll be gone after his freshman year. Or the other thing you can do is hope for that, and maybe this is the way to play it, is save your money and contend every fifth year.
Yeah, that could be one way to do it. And to that point, though, maybe a team like SLU or schools like that have a similar profile as St. Louis, maybe that's where they can win, because, to your points, the ability to have big businesses when you are in a market like St. Louis versus being in a market like Mobile or things like that. Whereas, yeah, Columbia, the Tigers have being Mizzou, but you at least have the business community of St. Louis that you can tap into a little bit more directly. Mm-hmm. or extremely directly. And so you're going to have to get creative. And it's kind of like what we were just talking about with minor league football and things like that. You have to get creative. There's avenues out there. The money's going to be available. Are you going to be able to successfully fight for it?
And here's one of the other things, and this is bad for Mizzou basketball. It's actually Mizzou's football is so lucky to have Eli Drinkwitz. Yeah. And this is bad for SLU basketball too. But just as an example, a Marquette guy can say, yeah, I remember when we won that championship in 1977, and I want to get back there. Martin Kilcoyne is that guy. But
it's really, you're giving Martin a lot of credit that he doesn't shut up about the Dwayne Wade run either.
Right. Yeah, he doesn't. But football, before Saban got to Alabama people were saying, yeah, I want to get back to winning like we did under Gene Stallings in 1992. And that was like 13 years later.
To your point, in 2007, you asked me about Alabama. My thought was, isn't that where the Chiefs backup quarterback Brody Croyle went to school?
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so that's what we're talking about here. But you had those people who had that nostalgia and had the money to pay to support a program. Well, and it makes sense. You don't have those people with SLU or Mizzou basketball because they've never won before. People that have paid to win before will pay to win again. But if you've never won before, you don't know the feeling. Now, there are newbies at Mizzou with Drinkwitz that are willing to get into this situation financially, and they'll pay a lot of money for it. But I think if you've won generally in the past, and we've talked about this every year in football and basketball, the blue bloods, the schools that have won it before, are the schools that are going to do it again. I had that stat last year of the top. This was late in the season. Yeah. Of the top 25 football teams late in the season, I think it was 19 of them were in the the top, because we didn't always have a top 25. It was the top 20, and I think of the top 25, maybe it was like 14 of them 50 years ago were in the top 20.
Cole Bass's left foot. There was a great article in The Athletic on a football assistant going to the Gulf states to recruit money for the football program. He's asking, will major college sports go to the Gulf Coast states for big money from alum?
Gulf of America?
No, he's talking about the Arabian Gulf Coast.
Oh, that
Gulf states. And my thing is I really hope not, because there's two things that are going to try to enter college sports. One of them is private equity. Another one is Arab dilettantes.
Yep.
And you cannot show me an example where both of these there isn't a history of both of these things being extremely irresponsible, having no business ethics, as well as political ethics when we talk about certain Gulf states. Private equity destroys companies. It's not good for any companies. It's bad for everyone involved. It's bad for the fans of the companies, the customers of the companies, and the employees of the companies. Private equity is bad.
What team just got purchased a portion of it by private equity? Was it the Niners?
I think it might have been, yes. And Middle Eastern dilettantes buying into your clubs is bad, because for every Manchester City and other English Premier League club that's going well, there's some Arab or Chinese billionaire dicking around with Valencia and ruining 100 years of history with clubs like that. And oh, by the way, they're coming from countries where they kill and murder people on a pretty regular basis. So maybe we shouldn't be taking their blood money in the first place. Keep private equity out for moral reasons, and
there's a word that doesn't apply very much.
Exactly, and then keep moral. and then keep Arab Gulf state money out for also a lot more moral reasons.
But then the question is, and did I mention last week to you that Laird Veach said every single starting player in the SEC is going to make six figures? Where's the money going to come from?
It's a good point. I really hope not. Please God, not Saudi Arabia. Yeah. Like I don't need to do this again.
You, but because there's only going to be so much corporate donation money to go around. There's only so much TV money to go around. And rather than paying players from 32 teams, pay with 53-man rosters, we've got 85-man rosters, and we've got, is it 64? 64, I think, power in the 60s, power 4 conference teams. I wonder where the money's going to come from, because they aren't taking in as much in college football as the NFL is.
Yeah.
Now, granted, the salary cap.
I was going to say, but a lot more teams operating with a salary cap than 32.
Yeah.
How many D1 teams are there? Football?
I think it's 64 or 66.
Okay, then. Or power. Yeah, I guess power conference teams.
It was the 49ers that sold 6% of their franchise to private equity firms.
Bad. Don't do that. There's probably like 90 San Francisco businesses you probably could have learned that lesson from, but I guess not. It's the money's got to come from somewhere. Hopefully it would come from all the companies that were helping the NCAA make a bunch of profits. That's where the money should be coming from, is that instead of the NCAA making those profits, the athletes in the NCAA should be now making those profits. Hopefully that's where the money is coming from.
100%. So hopefully that will be the case. And the House settlement, we've got the Wild West, right? That's what every coach calls it, is the Wild West out there. The House settlement is only the start of things. One of the things that has been positive about this, in my opinion, Matthew, is that the NCAA essentially will cease to exist now. The College Sports Commission hired a guy from MLB named Brian Seeley to be their CEO, and he will oversee all of the TV negotiations. He has investigative experience. It'll be key in investigating schools in regards to handling NIL and salary cap. The NCAA now, their only job apparently is going to be academics and academic integrity, but adhering to academic standards, which nobody has adhered to for years, and I don't think we're going to start now. I think the NCAA, as we have known it over the years, is gone.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too.
Completely okay with that. I understand there needs to be some kind of regulatory body, and I know there's going to be people out there who point out the flaws in this Wild West system, and there undoubtedly are flaws. But living in the just passive dictatorship that was the NCAA for the last 50 years was also not the answer. And continuing to let them profit and letting commissioners or commissioners of the NCAA make $3 or $4 million in salary, that was never going to be the answer. It was wrong when we did it. And while I'm not saying this system's any better, sitting back and perpetuating a broken system is never the answer.
In the post-settlement era, the NCAA will no longer be in charge of the enforcement of most rules. It'll still maintain purview over things like academics, but it will not patrol benefits. That'll be the job of the College Sports Commission. I do wonder who oversees like the Women's College World Series or the National Lacrosse Championships and stuff like that. I would think that would be the spot for the NCAA, unless this College Sports Commission decides that they're going to oversee that too.
That's fair. Did you say that they're gonna take care of the academic stuff though?
The NCAA, yes.
So UNC UNC's still gonna be fine.
Oh yeah, they're fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no problem at all.
UNC will still be able to. Okay, we're good.
Yeah,
I was worried about them for a second there. I was like, maybe this new college football entity actually makes their employees go to class.
Yeah. So
UNC would be screwed.
And I want you guys to weigh in here. Is this better? Is what we're headed towards overall in college sports better? Because it is a pro league now. So I asked Eli Drinkwitz, I said, is it better to, or I asked him if it was possible to build a team completely through transfers. And he said, no, because transfers are on their second contract.
That's fair.
It's pro football, right? But are you okay? Is this better for you? And I think players deserve the money. I think they deserve to be paid because they are the product. I don't know if the setup is going to be better for us or not. I think there's a lot of things that they need to settle. The first of which, because I'm more concerned about the product than anything else, they've got to figure out the transfer portal.
Yeah, they do. And I think do they need to figure? I mean, I feel like there's not much of a transfer portal issue if they just make it so that kids aren't transferring during bowl weeks and things like that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just move the window for the transfer portal.
But then what about school, Matthew? What about the fact that if you move the transfer portal to
so glad you asked this.
Late June.
So glad you asked this.
Or I'm sorry, late July. Okay, what are we going to do?
Well, you have to separate athletes from regular students.
Okay.
And that's the bottom line, which is no longer does Eli Drinkwitz have to, because he doesn't worry about it, but no longer does Eli Drinkwitz's graduate assistants have to coordinate everyone's schedule with the practice schedule. Because now you do this like Europeans do. And if we want to take this all the way to the point where, because I'm going to bring in European soccer, you say we want to get relegation. I know Mike Claiborne brought that up last week when he was on the show. Cole Bassett's left foot's a big fan of it as well. The bottom line is, when you enter an academy in European soccer at 9 years old, that's you're playing soccer and you're going to school, and it's all wrapped up in one thing that they control. And yes, the government says, because you have children, we're going to have some oversight in how you school these kids. You just have to say that we're now going to have a part of our school funded by the athletic department where the teachers teach classes only to athletes. And your schooling is completely 100% connected to the fact that you're an athlete on campus. Everything's built around that. And now we can make sure that everything's running as efficient as it needs. We're not worrying about students having to cheat, because how am I going to get these 3 classes done if I have to train today? I'm just going to have my tutor do my work for me. Well, now we have it built so that they can do their work, get a degree, be useful citizens if they don't make it to the NFL, and after they make it to the NFL, without it hurting the quality of the sport. We can figure this out. If they figured it out how to do it with 9-year-olds in France, we can do it with 18-year-olds in Missouri.
Sure. I'm good with that. And I also think that right now, probably a majority, more than 50% of the teaching that takes place for a football or men's basketball team is done by the tutors anyway. When they're on the road, the teams are out of town so much. A lot of the players don't even wind up going to class.
Yeah, I feel like there's a way to even streamline that too, where it's like, well, let's stop making that just build it out that's how this
have them be your teachers.
Yes, build it out how that's how this is going to work. It's going to be in the facility. It's going to be online, especially nowadays. I feel like, and maybe there's going to be people out there who say, well, that's not a good enough education. I that's fine. Nothing's ever going to be perfect, and I feel like we can all agree that right now, what we've been doing for the last 30 years certainly wasn't a good way to educate these kids at the same time.
Right.
It wasn't healthy. It wasn't healthy mentally or physically.
So, okay, as we head down the stretch, are you excited about the Panthers winning the next 2 games at home in the Stanley Cup Finals?
Is that what's going to happen?
That's what they're going to win.
All right,
by the way, I mentioned this morning, and I feel bad. Matthew Tkachuk has got to be playing hurt, doesn't he?
You'd think so. I mean, isn't every hockey player kind of?
Yeah, but I mean, he's not doing anything.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm just loving this because, I mean, 2 games, 3 extra periods of hockey. I mean, come on. I mean, compared to the NBA one, especially where we've had almost 2 blowouts, obviously one game was incredible, one game was not. The fact that these games have been like this, 3 overtimes, back and forth. Oh my God, the Stanley Cup's the best.
Yeah, this is great. Silvio Martinez, he's got Panthers in 6. So
that's fair.
Okay, good.
I hope not, though.
And Silvio, thanks for checking in. Sorry about your shoulder. Silvio Martinez was a knucklehead baseball player. Sorry, Silvio.
He's been a bandy little rooster in the chats the last few days.
Oh, good. So he was a knucklehead before like knuckleheadedness got out there.
Yeah.
So that was one that the Cardinals kind of kept under wraps when they had him. I think his second or third start he pitched for the White Sox. Maybe it was his first start for the Cardinals. Let me check. I think his first start for the Cardinals was a 1-hitter in New York. Let me find Silvio Martinez. This is like information that I should not have, but I do.
Good for you, though. I love it when you pull something deep like this.
This is the stuff where people say, "How do you know?"
We should read Silvio's comments. Obviously, all these kids should be thanking Ed O'Banion. If not for him, none of this would have happened.
Kurt
for them.
Flood of college
100%.
Sports.
Yeah, obviously, genuflect when you say the name. If you're a college sports fan, even if you're one from the last 10 years who's going to get part of that $2.5 billion that's going to the ex-athletes. By the way. I happen to live in a household with an ex-collegiate athlete who's outside the window to getting at that money. Not a fun conversation inside the household to be living with an athlete who played college sports and is a year, I think 2 years outside of the window to get any of the money.
No.
Yeah. If you know a college athlete who's just outside of that window, text them right now. They're having a bad time.
Oh, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, doesn't it though?
Okay, so
but they had to put it. You had to put the line somewhere.
Yeah,
someone's getting screwed.
You youngins might not realize this, but back in my day when I was a youngster, like 1978. So I turned 16 in 1978, and there were only like maybe 10 or 15 baseball games on TV a year, and they were all road games. They never televised a home game. So
what?
Yeah, isn't that wild?
That's insane.
Yeah, and they were on Channel 5. Jay Randolph did them. May 30th, 1978. His debut for the Cardinals, and Silvio Martinez had appeared in 8 games for the White Sox the year before. He goes 9 innings, allows 2 runs on 1 hit, walked 6, and wound up winning the game 1-0.
That's insane. Can I ask?
Or no, let's see. No, it's the Cardinals won 8-2. Okay, so yeah, he was 1-0. So the Cardinals won the game 8-2. He allowed 2 runs on 1 hit.
This might be a really weird question, but you saying that there's so few games on television made me think of this. Do you remember a player that you became a fan of only from hearing him being talked about on broadcast? Like you hadn't seen him in person at a Busch-stadium game yet, and you hadn't seen him on television yet. Is there a player you remember just being a fan of because of what you heard?
Bate McBride, Rookie of the Year, 1975. Yeah.
That's a great name. I love it.
Yeah, and obviously it was different for us because we had Jack Buck and Mike Shannon, right? But the way they described him and the fact that he could run and he was great. And I was a kid. He was a rookie, and he was a kid. So
74 was when he won Rookie of the Year.
There you go. Yeah. So that was really cool. I loved him. And then another guy in that same era when the Cardinals traded for Reggie Smith. Reggie Smith was a stud, just a great pinch hitter, really one of the underrated great pinch hitters ever because playing in this ballpark was brutal. But he was a 100 RBI guy. He hit home runs. He wanted to get back to LA, so the Cardinals traded him to the Doyers for Joe Ferguson, I think in 1977. But yeah, those were the two. Babe McBride and Reggie Smith were my 2 guys.
Wow. Okay, because I'm trying to think of it. I'm like, I don't know if I ever became a fan of a player just from hearing the calls about them on the radio, because obviously so much was televised, and I always had that to kind of lean on. So you mentioning that just made me that's fascinating. Yeah. I love that.
So Silvio Martinez says, "Boy, do I remember that game fondly, Randy. Thanks for bringing it up. You got it."
Do you remember the first time you got to see Bate McBride play like in a Cardinals uniform down at Busch-stadium?
Yeah, it was a night game in 1975.
Awesome. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
God, I love the fact that you remember. That's incredible.
I think we were playing Houston.
That's amazing.
So, I remember my very first game. Scipio Spinks was the Cardinals starting pitcher against the Cubs.
I don't remember the first Cardinals game I ever went to. The only thing I remember, and I don't even know if I remember this memory, but I think I remember it because the story was always told, is we're walking out of the Cardinals game, and I'm doing what I always on my dad's shoulders when I was a little kid, always. And apparently, as we're walking out of the game, my dad starts spinning around in a circle, goes, "Oh my God, where's Matt?" As he's holding it, and everyone being like, "He's on." I was like, "I'm on top of your head, Dad. We're good to go." That's like the very first Cardinals memory I have is leaving a game, walking, because it was the walkways that were connected. The connected walkways from the parking garage to the stadium. We were walking up and down one of those when it happened. I just remember being a little kid.
Love that.
My dad caught hell for that moment for so many years afterwards.
Silvio, you and I share a birthday, by the way.
No,
Silvio, 7 years older than me.
There we go. How about that?
But he's from Santiago, the Dominican Republic.
Oh, okay.
I'm from the mean streets of Creve Coeur.
By the way, the mean streets of Creve Coeur, love that so much.
Yeah.
You really think it's going to be a quick series in the Stanley Cup?
I do.
God, that bums me out, man. Not only do I want it to be close, but I guess if McDavid's going to lose, I'd rather him not have hope.
Okay, so tonight, Cardinals and Blue Jays. Dan Schulman left ESPN because the Blue Jays are obviously the national team in Canada. And Dan wants to be able to do the Blue Jays in the World Series. If they ever make a World Series, he'll be able to do them across Canada because that's the only team that Canada has. So higher ratings tonight, Cardinals and Blue Jays or Oilers and Panthers in Canada. Who gets higher ratings?
It's got to be Oilers, Panthers, right?
You'd think so.
It has to be. You'd think so.
I agree with you.
By the way, while we're talking about this, last year, this is crazy. Last year was the first time since since the lockout that NHL ratings beat the NBA.
Wow.
When you take out playoff games that the Blues were part of. Because it happened last year and it happened in 2019, obviously, because the Blues were in the playoffs for so long. This year, it has reverted back to what it has been for the last 20 years, which is the NBA ratings are back to being higher in St. Louis than NHL ratings. But man, from last year, I was starting to wonder if we were going to see a shift because last year, the NHL destroyed the NBA's ratings in St. Louis last year.
Wonder if that was because of Tkachuk.
I think it probably was because of Tkachuk. And then this year, completely flipped the other way.
And we actually had the people early on, like right after the Blues got knocked out. I had the numbers people over at Matrix put those together, and it was like NBA was beating the NHL 2-1.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I honestly thought something might have been changing a little bit, but again, the NBA, although overall bad game one ratings, a little bit better in game two, but St. Louis still turns it out.
And it's a weird thing though, because we don't think about this enough. There's a lot of people that don't have cable or a dish or access to a lot of like TNT or want to look for TNT. Any game, pretty much any game that's on ABC or TNT, the game that's on ABC is going to win.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, makes sense. It's still going to win out.
Yeah, because
more ability to watch it, availability is there. Yeah.
Yep. So tonight we've got Cards and Blue Jays at the ballpark. We'll have pregame. What's our new name for? Is it Sports Central 325?
Card Central.
Card Central
365.
365. So Card Central 365 pre and post. So we'll have that for you. And then tomorrow morning, the Randy Karraker Show featuring Brooke Grimsley with Matt Rocchio in for Brooke. We will be back at it tomorrow at 10:04ish.
Brooke's favorite pitcher, Jose Barrios, pitching tonight against Andre Palante. Oh,
very nice. And by the way, Brooke says hi to everybody. I was texting with her this weekend, and she says say hi to everybody. So hi from Brooke. We'll have to get her on we'll have to get her on Zoom and have her join the show for a little bit. Anyway, we appreciate you being a part of it. Wilson, Grant doing great work. Matthew, always great work. Thank you. And we will see you tomorrow morning at 10:04. So long, everybody.